Hey guys, before we get into the video, I want to make sure you guys all watch till the end because there's actually a really cool announcement all the way at the end all about Super Mario 3D World speedrunning. It's just a super cool thing that I'm kind of honored to be a part of. Super cool stuff. Anyway, let's just jump right into it. The art of speedrunning, or completing a game as fast as possible, has been around for decades now, and over the past 5 or so years, it's really been gaining an insane surge in popularity. Speedrunners are incredible and dedicate hours and hours to their craft of beating certain video games as fast as possible and pushing them to their limits. However, not all games are created equal when it comes to the art of speedrunning. Some games are just inherently more fun to run and watch speedruns of than others. When mentioning speedrunning, it's hard to think of any franchise other than Mario. While sure, there are hundreds of games out there that have lively communities of runners, at least for me, when someone mentions speedrunning, a first series I think of is Mario. Tons of Mario games are speedrun to this day, however there are 3 titles that come to my mind instantly when I think of Mario speedrunning. Those 3 games are Super Mario Bros. On the NES, Super Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64, and Super Mario Odyssey released in 2017 on the Nintendo Switch. Now why did those 3 games come to my mind? Well, it could be argued that it's because those games have the most active communities and therefore have the most consistent records and the most interesting competitive speedrun scenes with more mainstream appeal. However, I think it's because those games are just inherently fun to watch be run. Each one of those titles has something that is inherently super entertaining. Super Mario Bros. On the NES is a mostly linear game, and because of that, while speedrunning, this game places a lot of limits on the runner. Super Mario 64 stands out to me personally because this is like the most speedrun game of all time. Thousands of people over literal decades have tried to beat this game as fast as possible, and because of that, this game is optimized like arguably no other game is. Every single line, every single possible movement is nailed down to the absolute frame, and top runners of this game are able to do stuff so flawlessly because the run is so heavily optimized that it's honestly a marvel to watch. Last but not least, with Super Mario Odyssey, I love watching this game get run for the movement. Mario Odyssey's movement rivals any other 3D Mario game. In fact, I'd say Odyssey's movement system is one of the best in any 3D platformer. The amount of movement options to the player here are absolutely insane, but the amount of movement options a speedrunner has is absolutely ridiculous. However, it's not a coincidence that one of the most underrated Mario games ever also is one of the most underrated speedrun games of all time. Super Mario 3D World speedrun is an absolute marvel. It's an incredible accomplishment of human skill, and it features all of the 3 aspects that made the prior 3 games I mentioned so incredible to watch get run. What's going on, guys? It's Thomas from the Switched Up, and this is why Super Mario 3D World is one of the best speedrunning games of all time. First, let's talk about the limits. On the surface, there's really not much room for creativity here. It's a very limited type of game, except in speedrunning, at least from my brief experience, that often leads to the most interesting and engaging type of run. See, limits breed creativity, and when you get a group of people as passionate and as dedicated as speedrunners are to break open and absolutely destroy certain games, it's these initial limits that become the most interesting. For example, 3D World is a very straightforward game. Every level has one goal: get to the flagpole. Every level has 3 green stars. You have to get X amount of green stars in order to progress past these locks. Because of that, runners are very limited as to what green stars they can actually go for. Therefore, the run is entirely charted around hitting that threshold of the most amount of green stars that you need to have in the absolute quickest possible time. Limits like that, the green star limit, lead to some of the coolest moments of the entire run, such as once you reach World Bowser, glitching out of bounds and falling from that world in the overworld and landing directly on this mystery box so you can pick up the required green stars. The fact that this game is so limited and so linear means that it requires incredible out-of-the-box thinking moments just like that, and as someone watching the game get speedran, that's just absolutely so exciting. However, now let's take a look at the optimization, and man, this game is optimized to high heaven. The movement in 3D World is honestly pretty restrictive. You can only really move in 8 directions, so every single action has to be incredibly deliberate. Watching a top runner run this game is absolutely insane, as every single little minute action is perfectly optimized. One of my favorite examples of this comes in World 6 with Fuzzy Flood Mine. The 3D World speedrun is full of these jaw-dropping moments where you just sit there and go, there's no way the runner just did that. Every speedrun has some of these moments, whether it's the BLJ in Super Mario 64 or the insane out-of-bounds clips that come standard with Odyssey runs. However, I feel like 3D World just has so many of those moments, and this is one of them. This level is an auto-scroller, but parts of it can be completely skipped by just going in front of the screen. Because of that, runners can just do the entire level while the screen is still stuck, basically at the beginning. They're essentially playing through this level at record speed, blindfolded. The optimization in this game is crazy, but you can only really truly appreciate it when you pair it with the final segment in this video. The movement in 3D World, as I said, was initially kind of viewed as very restricted and not that interesting. However, when runners push games to their limits, often the limits push back, and that was exactly the case in 3D World, as this game's movement is absolutely broken. The main problem with the movement in this game is momentum, as in, it essentially just doesn't work like at all, or at least how Nintendo intended. Essentially, the way momentum in this game works is that it gets stored through everything. I was lucky enough to ask speedrunner Yandema exactly how momentum in this game works, and this is what he had to say. Momentum is stored through mostly everything: green pipes, clear pipes, warp boxes, etc. The general rule of thumb is that if you touch the ground for more than a few frames, you'll likely lose all or most of the speed you've built up. While that obviously is not conducive to beating levels as fast as possible, it's luckily relatively easy to build up said speed and keep that momentum. Quote, "The most common exploit you'll see is called cap momentum. This trick sets your speed at a constant level until it's lost, and some runners go even further and do another strategy called vectoring. Similar to vectoring in Odyssey, if you angle your jumps at approximately a 45-degree angle, you'll go slightly faster for whatever reason. If you want to go yet another step further, you can do crouch boosts. When you crouch on the ground, the game speeds you up for a few frames. If you jump out of those, you can keep your speed. Each of these three techniques together can get you a huge amount of speed." So yeah, as you're seeing right here, the movement in this game is absolutely cracked. You literally store momentum through everything. It even counts in underwater, so take a look at this section here. Top runner Luigi Master saves up a ton of momentum entering this water. Obviously, they start swimming around at normal speed because, there's a set max speed in water and it's pretty slow. But as soon as they leave that water, all the momentum that they stored prior is still active, so their velocity leaving the water is insanely fast. Because of this, momentum is the name of the game in 3D World, and watching runners move throughout this game, it honestly looks so effortless, but it is, definitely not. This all comes to a head when you add ice into the mix, like in World 3-1. Just watch this level. Is that not absolutely insane? Obviously that's a special case because it's the ice level, but the speed you can build up here is just ridiculous. And all throughout the game, runners move way faster than normal players would even think is allowed within the game engine by using these momentum exploits. To head into the conclusion of this video, I just wanted to touch on a couple more questions that I was able to ask Yandema. First thing I asked him was what his favorite aspect about running this game is, and he said the beginner friendliness. Most of the current route can still be done without needing to know any tech, and if you want to learn some of the tech and improve your average time in the level, the in-game timer really helps you to gauge how well you're doing. He brings up a great point there. As we said in the beginning, there are a lot of limits to this game. If you do not know all the current tech and moves and crazy out-of-bounds glitches in Odyssey, it's damn near impossible to do a run that looks anything remotely similar to what the top runners are doing nowadays. However, even if you can't do all these crazy momentum tricks in 3D World, you can still do a run, it'll just naturally be slower. But you can follow pretty much all the same paths, and because of that, at least from an outsider's perspective, it seems like it's a lot more easy to get into for a beginner. Obviously, there are certain levels you won't be able to do the same way at all, but overall, you can play the same levels and do everything in the same order as 3D World runners, which is just super cool. Here's the last thing Yandema said that I think is worth highlighting in this video. What sets 3D World speedruns apart for me, though, is the high-risk, high-reward system, where if you fail a hard or scary strat, chances are you might not be able to try them again because most speed strats require a power-up or two. That's just it. This run is absolutely insane. I mentioned optimized before, and the run is insanely optimized, but these are only humans we're talking about. There's bound to be a bunch of mistakes here, and while these runners are damn near close to perfection, chaining everything together in one run is just out of the human grasp for now. However, that's where our announcement that I mentioned at the start of this video comes into play. Yandema has been working for the past month or so to edit together a any% BTT for this game. Essentially what that means is that he took the top clips of every single part of this game and stitched them together to achieve what is theoretically the best currently possible run. The amount of editing and work that went into this is absolutely insane, and I am so honored to announce that tomorrow we are premiering the Super Mario 3D World any% BTT live. It's commentated by me, Yandema, another runner named Preston, and the legend himself, Luigi Master. He is absolutely ridiculous and just leagues ahead of pretty much anyone who runs this game right now. So come watch my mind be absolutely blown. The video is already recorded and will be premiering live on the channel tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Convert that to your own time zone, or just hit the subscribe button and notification bell because it's going to be a YouTube premiere, so YouTube will notify you if you have notifications on for the channel. On top of that, this video and that video are both part of my huge 3D World celebration where I'm daily uploading every day up until Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury launches, so make sure you're subscribed to not miss any future content. With that out of the way, thank you guys all so much for watching. I'm Thomas from the Switched Up signing off. Peace.